Welcome to the Complete Story series here at Comicstorian, where we take trade paperbacks and single issues and we break them down into digestible bites to help you understand. Then we read it dramatically back to you. All alterations to the panels, text, and images are to prevent copyright problems, and all art is owned by its respective companies. Obviously, I'm not Benny. I am Dan, and today I am here to bring you the Batgirl Year 1 story, which features the origin of Batgirl Barbara Gordon. So let's jump on in. All of the costumed partygoers look in shock as Killer Moth aims his weapon. Bruce Wayne readies himself as Batgirl leans over the unconscious body of her father. Killer Moth fires at Bruce Wayne, but Batgirl leaps in the way, blocking Wayne with her cape, but the cloth begins to sizzle. Batgirl leaps into the gathering of goons, fighting them off. Sometime before, James Gordon laughs at his daughter's thoughts of becoming a member of the Gotham Police Department, but she's not laughing. Anger appears on her face as she tells him that she has been studying for this and she wants to be a detective. A detective? You don't even meet the minimum height requirements, James says smugly as he reads his paper. Fine, Barbara snaps as she throws his breakfast down on the table, spilling his coffee. She storms upstairs, with Gordon following her. I won't let my daughter become a cop, he shouts after her. Barbara slams her door and sits on her bed. She is sick of everyone thinking that she is weak and small, that she can't handle herself. Batgirl lashes out, kicking Killer Moth in the head and dropping him. The other goons open fire, but she is too quick, dodging the gunfire and knocking them out. Barbara continues to go through her life, with men shocked by how knowledgeable she is. Her martial arts teacher thinks that she is too small, too weak, that she lacks the drive to be involved with combat, and he makes the mistake of turning his back on her. And she knocks him to the ground, twisting his arm behind his back until it almost breaks. She applies to the FBI. The agent in charge of her interview is impressed with her studies and notes that her expertise in information gathering would be highly useful to an agent. I want to do more than clerical work, sir. I was hoping to be a field agent, she tells him hopefully. But the man just smiles smugly as he looks at her. Then I'm afraid you have some growing up to do. You don't meet our minimum height requirements, he says from behind his pipe. Batgirl leaps out of the way of more gunfire, grabbing a banner and swinging it around, knocking more of the goons aside. She slides along the ground, looking up at Killer Moth aiming his weapon. She is distracted for a moment, and a goon grabs her, but she twists in his grasp, letting Killer Moth's poison spray hit him in the face instead of her. Barbara has made a decision. She knows that her father works with the Batman, but she feels that maybe someone like the Black Canary would take her on as a partner. She slips into the GCPD while her father waits on the roof, waiting for the dark night. Inside his office, Barbara finds the GCPD's emergency codes for the Justice Society of America's headquarters. She makes her copies quickly, slipping out of the door before someone discovers her. Hands high, someone calls to her as she shuts the door. She turns to see Officer Bard, someone who has flirted with her on several occasions. How can I get you to call me Jason, Miss Gordon? He asks with a smile. She smiles back. Well, to start, you can neglect mentioning to the boss that I was in his office, leaving him a surprise. Dinner and a movie might help too, Officer Bard, she says before rushing away. It was a few nights later when Barbara was watching the news that she heard the Justice Society of America were fighting against Solomon Grundy in the swamp. She rushes out of the house to James' surprise, but it doesn't take her long to move through the streets of Gotham and find the JSA's headquarters. Using the codes that she stole, she manages to slip inside, past the alarm and the laser grids, and manages to avoid the old-timey trapdoor in the floor. She makes sure that the cameras see her though. She wants the team, and Black Canary most of all, to know that she was able to slip inside. She leaves her note on the JSA table, a note that tells Black Canary that she could be a valuable asset and asks her to consider taking her on as an apprentice. With that done, she slips back outside and rushes back through the streets. She finally makes it home and collapses on her bed, breathing heavily but smiling at her adventures. It is later that a dark figure reads her note. Looking down on the cesspool that is Gotham City, the man reads the words, intrigued by them. He notes the time of a proposed meetup on the Hasten building and moves off into the night. Midnight on Thursday. The top of the Hasten building. Barbara waits in silence, hoping to meet the Black Canary. "You the valuable asset?" Wildcat asks from his vantage point. Barbara looks up in surprise. Yes?" she says quietly. Wildcat leaps down, landing on the rooftop and reaching for Barbara's arm before she can move away. "You want to explain why you went through so much trouble to deliver this little fan letter?" he asks, holding up the note that she had left on the JSA building. Barbara points up, explaining that it would be hard to leave it on the Justice League satellite. "The Society ain't a messenger service, Green Eyes. Canary's got another engagement, and I'm pretty sure she ain't in the market for apprentices," he tells her, letting go of her arm. Disappointed, Barbara heads for the fire escape, while Wildcat calls to her that she should find a different line of work. He stares off into the city for a moment. "So, what do you see for Green Eyes, Doc?" he asks the empty building. Shimmering from the darkness, Dr. Fate appears next to him. "I see triumph and tragedy," the magical hero says simply. Wildcat nods. "Yeah, well, I could have told you that," he tells his friend. Time passed, and Barbara grew more depressed about her life. She continued to go to work, but nothing outside that made her happy. She wanted to do more with her life. Wanted more than to have her face buried in a book or lit by the glow of a computer. She knew that she was fated for more. But the world told her that she wasn't strong enough. She wasn't tough enough. James finally noticed the change in his daughter. She sat at the table eating breakfast when he put an envelope in front of her. "What's this?" she asked, looking up from her bowl of cereal. "An invitation to a party. Dinner, dancing, boys. At least think about it," James asks her as he walks out the door. She pulls it out, quickly reading the invitation to the GCPD masquerade ball. And a mischievous smile begins to play across her lips. Barbara had gone into the city looking for a Batman costume, but she couldn't find one. So she had no choice but to make her own, hiding it from her father when he asked her about her crafts, wanting to really let the irony dig in of his little girl dressing up like something that he would never want. She entered the party dressed as the Batgirl, a smile still crossing her mouth. She moved through the crowd of wealthy Gothamites, trying to find her father, wanting to make sure that he saw her costume. She knew he wouldn't approve. But she didn't have time. As she saw her father across the room, the front doors of the hall burst open, revealing Killer Moth and his crew of goons. "Ladies and gentlemen, your attention! I am Killer Moth, and I'm not here to hurt anyone, as long as you do what I say," Killer Moth shouted. He aimed his gun at the clown-dressed Bruce Wayne. "All I want is Mr. Bruce Wayne, and me and my friends are gone," he said. But the party-goers begin to cheer and hold up their drinks. Those that had never lived in fear didn't know when true danger was looking them in the face, even from a third-rate villain like Killer Moth. But Gordon was already moving, drawing his weapon and stepping in the way of Bruce Wayne. "That's enough, Walker. Lay down the guns," Gordon shouted. Killer Moth fires, the dart hitting Gordon in the neck and dropping him to the ground. Barbara is there in a flash, pushing Wade aside as she reaches for her father. "Run, Mr. Wayne," she shouts. The fight begins quickly as Barbara fights against Moth's goons. At Wayne Manor, Richard Grayson has just sat down on the couch with a bowl of cereal as Alfred sits to write another adventure of Knight and Squire. Dick flips on the TV, his eyes widening as the news reports of the hostage situation at the ball. He drops his bowl of cereal and rushes for the cave, leaving Alfred to shake his head at the new mess that he has to clean. Killer Moth fires again, but Batgirl flips over a table. "You're dead, chickie! It's the killing jar for you!" Moth screams. She grabs the table, tossing it up to throw Moth off. He is confused for a moment, and she slides along the floor, kicking him hard in the knees and bringing him down. He stumbles, but grabs his mask and throws it at her. "Stupid mask!" he shouts angrily. Batgirl whirls as Moth grows angrier. "You picked the wrong costume, girl. I'm not fooling around anymore. The Moth is changing, do you hear?" he shouts. He rushes at her, but runs right past her and leaps out the window. Batgirl hesitates for a moment before leaping out after him. She stumbles as she lands on the lawn, but is up fast, chasing the Moth into the trees. He turns to fire a grenade at her, but she leaps, avoiding the destruction. But Moth has cleared the trees. He aims his gun upward, firing a grenade that transforms into a balloon that he attaches to his belt. Batgirl follows him, but looks up as the balloon is snagged by a helicopter that is flown by Moth's goons. She leaps, trying to grab his foot, but he is already too high, and she misses him, landing in the grass, angry with herself. She turns at the sound of approaching voices. The police are nearby, and she can't stop to ask questions. She turns and flees deeper into the woods, but is stopped by a deep voice. She looks up in shock to see Batman and Robin standing in the nearby shadows. "And what are you supposed to be?" Batman growls. Batgirl stares at him in shock for a moment. "I asked you a question. What are you supposed to be?" Batman asks her again. She begins to stutter, so Robin steps forward. "I can handle her, Batman. She's just a girl," he says with a smile. But Batgirl isn't playing anymore. Robin steps forward to grab her, and Batgirl flips over him, throwing him to the ground. Batman doesn't move. "This is no game. You have no right to wear that symbol," he growls. She whirls on him, angry. "And you do?" she snaps. But their discussion is interrupted as Moth's helicopter comes back around. The criminal leans out the window, opening fire on the trio with a machine gun. Batman and Robin leap away as the helicopter peels off again. When they look up, Batgirl is gone. "The girl disappeared, but we'll be seeing her again," Batman says. Batgirl watches them from the shadows, seeing Robin smile. "I hope so," he says. Barbara shakes her head and runs off into the trees. She can't be seen and quickly finds her car and heads home, managing to get back before anyone is aware that she was even missing. The next morning, she is awakened by her father. "Barbara, wake up! I know it's Saturday, but you don't have to sleep the day away," he tells her as he opens up the curtains. Barbara sits up, telling her father that she wasn't feeling well and took some medicine last night that knocked her out. "Sorry I skipped the party," she says sheepishly. He shakes his head, telling her everything that happened. "Some girl in a scary costume saved the day, or so I'm told. I was unconscious during the good parts," he tells her, not looking at her. He turns away from her window and drops a newspaper and a scrap of cloth on her bed and walks out of the room. Barbara stares at the blurry picture of herself in the paper. Her face can't be seen, but she wonders if her father has already begun to suspect her activities. Later that night, Killer Moth has gone to see mob boss Tony Bresci. The mobster doesn't take the costumed villain too seriously, and practically laughs when Killer Moth offers his protection against the likes of Batman and Robin. He even brought his own Moth signal, which he places on Bresci's desk. Bresci stands, waving his cigar around as he smiles dangerously at Killer Moth. You're offering me protection? I am protection. I saw you on the TV, Bugface. Some chippy beat you silly, he laughs. He waves to his men, ordering them to throw Killer Moth out. The villain is thrown on his butt. His Moth signal smashed to pieces next to him. Humiliated, Killer Moth returns to his car, promising that he'll make a name for himself in Gotham. Elsewhere, Gordon stands beneath the light of the bat signal. He jumps as Batman's voice fills the rooftop. "We're here. Any leads on Killer Moth?" Batman asks. Gordon shakes his head as he lights his pipe. "You and I need some sort of hotline. This waiting in the dark business is silly," he says. Robin smiles down at him. "I bet you were expecting 3 of us tonight, right, Captain?" He jokes, but stops when he receives a glare from Batman. Gordon shakes his head and tells the duo that he hasn't heard any word about Killer Moth and hopes that they can stop him. As the duo turns to leave, Batman looks over his shoulder. "Jim, I have nothing to do with the girl," he says. Later, Batgirl elbows one of the robbers and kicks another into the glass of the drinks display. Both goons fall to the floor, but Batgirl turns as another robber rounds the convenience store shelves, aiming a shotgun at her. She moves fast, the shotgun tearing apart the store around her, and she snaps at herself mentally, angry that she didn't case the robbery for a third man. She moves quickly, grabbing a bag and filling it full of canned goods while the shooter looks for her. He rounds another corner, weapon ready, when Batgirl slams the bag into his face, knocking him out. And she breathes a sigh of relief at not dying. Back at the house, Barbara is still preparing. She's ordered gear from the internet, piecing together her crime-fighting gear, vigilantism on a budget. That night, she climbs one of the tallest buildings in Gotham. Changing into her Batgirl costume on the roof, she readies the grappling hook and climbing rope as Batman and Robin watch from a distance. "This is where she throws in the towel and gives up the costume for good," Robin whispers to Batman, betting everything he has in his trust fund, but Batman shakes his head. "You lost that wager before she entered Wayne Tower. She's already making the leap. It's the fall that'll kill her," Batman says. Robin's eyes widen as they watch Batgirl run towards the ledge and leap off into the night air. The grappling hook was set. The line played out in her hands as Batgirl plummeted towards the ground below. But she wasn't afraid. Even as the wind whistled past her ears, she smiles. But the line goes slack as something slices through it. Panic starts to set in, but Robin is there, swinging in and catching her. "I have you," he shouts. But he's not too used to swinging with 2 people, and they slam into a wall, beginning to fall towards the streets below. But 2 lines snag their feet and pull them up. Moments later, Batgirl is sitting on the edge of the building. "I told you before, I don't need your permission to do this. What's the idea of the near-death experience?" she asks. Batman holds up her severed climbing rope. "You were at terminal velocity. That jump line you were using has no give. It would have sliced your fingers off or pulled your arms from their sockets," he tells her. But Robin tries to defend her. "Batgirl doesn't know that. She's new at this," he says. But Batman glares at him. "Don't call her that. Don't ever call her that again," he growls. Batgirl thanks Robin, but turns to Batman to defend him. But as she turns, the knockout gas hits her in the face, and she passes out. She awakens in the cave, hearing a new voice to the duo. When she opens her eyes, she sees Batman and Robin standing before her, all of them in the Batcave. "Welcome to our lair," Robin says. Batgirl sits up, realizing that her hands are tied. "Wow, you really don't mess around. This is serious for you," she says. Batman stands over her, demanding to know who she is. He reaches for her mask, but Batgirl grabs his hands and twists around, slipping from his grasp. But Batman is fast, grabbing hold of her and twisting her through the air, slamming her hard against the cave floor. "If you try anything, I swear I'll scream," she says. Batman simply turns away and begins to walk out of the cave. "Watch her," he orders Robin. The boy Wonder looks to him. "Going back out?" he asks. "The city doesn't protect itself. Make sure she doesn't touch anything." Batman growls as he walks up the stairs. Left alone, Robin tries to befriend Batgirl, giving her a tour of the cave and the equipment that the duo uses. He doesn't know that Bruce is watching him from the manor above, explaining to Alfred that it is a simple manner of good cop, bad cop. "And I trust that Master Richard is the good cop?" Alfred asks. Bruce nods. "Why else do you think he wears the bright colors?" he says. After giving her the tour, Robin leads Batgirl to the Shoot House, a testing ground to prove oneself in the darkness of Gotham City. "If I could trust you to be good, you might try it out," he says. Batgirl promises, and Robin removes her bindings. "Okay, but this is just between you and me, okay?" he says. As Batgirl enters the Shoot House, Bruce looks at Robin giving the camera the thumbs up. He sighs, pressing the button that disables the Shoot House's failsafes. Batgirl walks into the dark room, but the lights click on to show a street similar to dozens in Gotham City, and she walks quietly forward. But gunfire suddenly rips from an upper window. She dodges out of the way, aware that she is now in a live fire exercise. She dodges past the gunfire, taking cover beneath a window. But a goon is there with a knife, stabbing downward. She twists out of the way and breaks the display's mechanical arm. She rushes forward, grabbing a garbage lid and throwing it through the air, taking out the upper gunman. A car swerves around the corner, heading straight for a woman in her carriage. Batgirl rushes forward, ignoring the gunfire and pushing the carriage out of the way. But when she looks inside, she is shocked to discover a bomb. As the timer moves down, Batgirl pushes the carriage at the gunman, leaping away as the explosion takes them out. She struggles to her feet, looking up to see Robin clapping at her performance. "Very nice! I think you get your diploma," he says with a smile. She rushes forward and punches him in the stomach, knocking him flat. She whirls to find Batman behind her. "I wouldn't grade you as high as my partner," he says. She throws a punch that he easily catches. "I don't think you pass," he growls. She yells at him, pointing out that she survived. But he motions to the clearing smoke, pointing out that she used lethal force, which they never do, even to save their own lives. "Was I supposed to let your paper dolls shoot me? What would that have proved?" she demands, trying to free her hand. "Only that you could be one of us," he tells her. But Batgirl isn't having any of it. She tells Batman that she is strong enough and smart enough to do this job. "Then answer one question. Why?" he asks. Batgirl hesitates for a moment, and Batman leans down. "I thought so. This isn't a game. Time to go home," he tells her, letting her go and turning away. But she steps forward, telling him that she can see Gotham's future and that it needs help. That she wants to do this because she can, because the city needs her. Robin puts a hand on her shoulder and she turns around. He smiles as he hits her with the knockout gas. She wakens the next day in her car in front of her house, her costume folded neatly in the back seat. Barbara is shocked by the fact that Batman knows who she is. After having breakfast with her father, she is surprised by a knock on the door. She opens it to receive a package, which she brings upstairs. Inside is a note from Robin. "Batgirl, you looked like a fast study. This'll help you cram, trust me. He'll come around. P.S. Pixie boots are optional," the note says. Inside the box is new equipment to help Barbara get started. And that is the first part of the Batgirl Year 1 story. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I personally really enjoyed this story. I thought it was great. I'm really excited to give you guys the rest of this story, and I hope you guys are ready to hear it. Please be sure to like, follow, subscribe, leave a comment down below, you know, all that good stuff that YouTubers ask you to do. As well as go to our Patreon at patreon.com/Comicstorian, where you can support us directly over there. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you next time, right here at Comicstorian.